Just to recap, we've been speaking about the true self, right? That every person has many layers, and very often we define ourselves by the wrong layers. What I mean by that is that the only way we should define ourselves is by the soul, by who we are. He said that the Jewish people are compared to diamonds in soil. Sometimes the diamond is so covered by soil that it stops thinking that it's a diamond anymore. And because all it sees is soil. But really, the real definition should be a diamond that's worth a lot, a diamond that shines. And same year, the Beinoni in many ways has to be able to define himself as a diamond in order to then be a Beinoni and to live like a Beinoni. If you think you're soil, you'll never reveal your inner soul, your true self, right? So that's the big idea here. And no matter how much soil we have, also some have a little, some have a lot. It doesn't matter. What matters most is that we are not defined by it, right? And that's what we were speaking about. Let's continue. Truth has many definitions. So this is speaking about the truth of the soul, the truth of who we are. That's the theme right now. Let's continue. Middle of page 16. Does anyone want to read?
No? Okay, I'll read.
Okay. All right, Margaret, thank you.
Truth has many definitions, and here the author takes the strictest viewpoint. He is not describing someone who deceives others or himself. Rather, he describes someone who truly experiences love, but not real love. Since it passes and disappears after prayer, and it is written, "The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment."
Right. So just to reconnect to the subject here, we said that a Beinoni feels like a tzaddik, like a complete tzaddik during moments, specific moments. During the Shema, for example, during the Amidah, where he feels completely awakened, that his soul is just one with God, completely aligned. Now, the Beinoni might say to himself, well, I'm lying to myself. That's just fleeting moments, right? But when I come back from the Shema, come back from the Amidah, then I don't feel the same way. So it's just a lie I'm living in. And what we're telling the Beinoni is that, no, you're not living in a lie. You're living in truth. Those are the moments of the ultimate truth of your real self. When you come down and then you have those temptations that the Beinoni is able to kick them out. That's not your true self. The true self is that self that's not fazed at all by these temptations, and because it's so one with God. So that's the context here. I don't want to speak about this beautiful verse from the book of Proverbs, from Mishlei. It says, the lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. It's interesting because our sages have pointed this out, and it's just a beautiful visual. But if you take the word for truth in Hebrew, which is emet, and you draw it, you draw those letters, Aleph, Mem, Taf, in the biblical script, not in the cursive script, but in the biblical script. And then you take the word sheker, which is the word for lie, and you draw those letters out too, Shin, Kuf, Resh. You'll notice something that's quite fascinating. And that is that the word emet is comprised of letters that have 2 feet. Aleph has 2 feet. Just try to imagine the Aleph. Mem as maybe not 2 feet, but as one long board at the bottom, which makes it stable. Taf has 2 feet. While Sheker, on the other hand, only has 1. Shin is pointed. Kuf also has only 1 foot, and Resh also has only 1 foot. Sheker, the word for lie. And what the sages deduct from this is that Emet stands forever. It can't be destabilized. Those 3 letters are letters that are firm, that don't fall, because they, again, stand on 2 feet. Sheker, at one point or another, will collapse, because the letters of Sheker only stand on 1 foot. How long can you be stable already if you stand on 1 foot? Shin, Kuf, Resh. it's a nice visual. But it's a powerful message that indeed sheker doesn't, like it says here, lying tongue is but for a moment. Sometimes it's a long moment, but you can't keep living in a lie forever. Truth, on the other hand, stands forever. And this is why, in the more spiritual and even mystical sense, Tanya itself says, or quotes the Zohar that says that a mitzvah that we do, the light of a mitzvah that we do, stays with us and stays in this world forever. Why? Because the mitzvah that we do is really the desire of God. God is the absolute truth. It's the ultimate truth. And therefore his desires are truth. When I do a mitzvah, I'm fulfilling the desire of God, and truth stays forever. So that mitzvah, even though I might just be giving a coin, and this poor person's gonna buy a little piece of food with it, and that food eventually is going to disintegrate. Still, the light of the mitzvah itself that I drew down through tzedakah, through that coin that I gave, stays forever with me and in this world. While sins, averot, come from lies, from what we call alma de shikra, what the Zohar calls the world of lies. And therefore, the second a person does teshuvah, the darkness, so to speak, that is drawn down from an avera goes away. So averot, sins, are essentially temporary because they come from lies. Mitzvahs, on the other hand, are essentially permanent. Why? Because they come from truth. They're the expression of God's light in this world, which is truth. God, the God of truth. By the way, this is also true, not to get too mystical, but this is why we also taught that when a person does a mitzvah, he creates an angel. An angel that no matter what remains forever, remains with the person in this world and guards him, and in the next world. That angel goes and serves as his advocate in the next world, because the light of the mitzvah stays forever. But if a person does a sin, he also creates an angel. Angel that maybe is the person's prosecutor. But the second one does teshuvah, the angel disappears because there's no permanence in essence in this angel, because it comes from lies, from alma de shikra. So that is on a deeper level. But that's really what this verse is saying. Lip of truth is established forever. Lying tongue is but for a moment. Okay, and I don't want to be the only one speaking, so please feel free to speak your mind.
I had been taught that
Yes, Gary.
emet contains the essence of everything, because, and it's in the letters, because Aleph is the first letter of the alphabet, and Taf is the last letter of the alphabet. Mem is the middle letter of the alphabet.
Very good.
If you take emet and you leave off the Taf, you have M, or birth, mother. And if you take out the first letter, you have met, which is death, which is the end. So it actually contains everything that's
right. Beautiful. Very, very beautiful. You're right. Emet encompasses the whole Hebrew alphabet because it's the first, the middle, and the last. And at the same time, the word itself really spells that out. By the way, in contrast, sheker are the last three letters of the alphabet. So they, it doesn't reflect any wholesomeness, only the bits or the remnants. Very powerful. You're right. Beautiful. Shakoch. That's right. Yeah. We say, just to go maybe a little bit deeper into emet, it's just a powerful idea, but emet in and of itself is interchangeable with another word. It's interchangeable with the Hebrew word of amen. Amen is a testament of faith, right? We say amen, but it's also a testament of truth, of faith in the ultimate truth that will prevail. And in many ways, that's what faith is. Faith is knowing that truth is permanent. And therefore, regardless of what we may be going through, that truth will prevail. That God will come through. That mitzvah will outshine the darkness. So it's that interchangeable word according to the Talmud too. Okay, Shakak, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. Again, anyone is more than welcome to share their minds. Otherwise, we can continue at bottom of page 16. Does anyone want to read? Okay, or Margaret, you can continue. Truth. Continuing to speak on this idea of truth versus truth equals permanence versus lie equals temporary. Go for it.
Truth, then, is what is real in the eyes of eternity. Something transient and given to change is not true. The litmus test of truth is in its lasting not only under particular conditions, but continuously. This concept of truth, by the way, is rooted in Hebrew. A Nahal Achsav, deceptive stream, is so called because it does not always flow with water. It deceives. The Mishnah speaks of the deceptive stream that fails once in 7 years. In other words, a single failing once in 7 years places it outside the bounds of truth. Truth is synonymous with the eternal. If it is not true forever, in every instance, in every dimension, it is not true. This presents a problem. Within these austere limits, where one can hope to locate truth in our low-fidelity universe, Maimonides begins his Mishnah Torah with a definition of truth in accordance with the prophet Jeremiah's words that God your Lord is true. Only God is true, for he alone is constant and unchanging. All other truths evolve, in Maimonides' words, from the truth of his being. Every other truth is built on God's truth and consequently is valid only relative to him. In this sense, the definition of a true feeling is one that remains without fading away. Whatever cannot meet this standard fails the truth test.
Right. Again, this is a powerful idea about truth and how God is unchanging. And to individualize this, I want to speak about that idea that the Tanya was sharing, that when we have feelings of oneness with God, of these spiritual awakenings, we shouldn't dismiss them as false, as lies. Because if we think about it with these lenses, that's really the only truth we have. And what I mean by that, and I see that as a rabbi all the time, and that is that people have moments of deep awakening. It could be life events that cause these moments to happen. It could be places that we go to. It could be days like Yom Kippur that cause these moments to happen. But we have these spiritual awakenings all the time. And what I've come to see is that these spiritual awakenings occur sometimes even in the same person, whether he's 5 years old or 50 years old, or whether he's 120 years old. Not that I've met a 120-year-old man yet, but whether, say, he's 100 years old. That moment of oneness is exactly the same. That remains with the person forever. Why? Because it's truth. And therefore, it's exactly the same when you're 100 years old or when you're 5 years old. Now, it's up to the person to do something with it. Some people are also awakened that they change their lives for the better. Some, they just go back to sleep. But still, the moment itself is a moment that reflects the ultimate truth because, again, it's unchangeable. It's there. It's ingrained in the person, and it's awakened from time to time, and it expresses itself almost in the same way, whether a person is 5 years old or whether a person is 100 years old. While if you compare that to the lies that a person lives, whether it's a temptation that I had when I was 5 years old to play the game of marbles, if you played that, or whether it's a temptation that I had when I was 14 years old to have good ice cream all the time, or whether, and all these temptations change. Their form changes, their essence even changes. That's because it's a lie, and lie is always changeable. And therefore, when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we shouldn't really define ourselves by those changeable aspects of us, because the fact that they're changeable should already tell us that these are lies. So how should we define ourselves in the most true way? By looking at those aspects in us that don't change, because the fact that they don't change means that they are true. What doesn't change in us? Those awakenings. Now, again, it's up to us to develop them and express them and make sure that they don't happen just sporadically. But those awakenings are always the same. The soul ecstasy, let's call it that way, that I had when I was 5 years old is the same as I have when I was 30 years old, and so on and so forth. That doesn't change. And the fact that doesn't change means that it's true. And really, I mean, you know, and I've said this before, but unfortunately, some people don't really work on those awakenings. And they just, you know, put those awakenings back to sleep. But there's one time in life, one era in life, one period in life in which those awakenings are always there. And then a person realizes, wow, that's truly my true self. And that's when before a person passes on. I can't tell you how many times I've been to hospices and people have just opened up like flowers blossoming about how they wish they had lived a more soulful life, whether that meant being more dedicated to God or dedicated to their families or dedicated to their true self. That's the way they call it. But it's because then we realize that the body that we lived in and all of its temptations is really fleeting. It's dying now. It's finished. And when we realize that it's fleeting and dying and finished, then we realize that it's one big lie. And then our eyes are opened up to a different reality, the reality of truth. And that's the reality of the soul. That's not dying. I know that the soul, it continues with me now into the next world. So people then finally say, oh, I should have spent more time with truth, not more time with lies. And what can I do? That the lies took over me, the temporary, the changeable. And that's really why the Tanya, you were speaking about this, because in many ways, what is a Beinoni? A Beinoni is someone who's able to, first and foremost, decipher truth from lies, and then commit himself unwaveringly to truth, to the soul, not to the body. Even though the body might come and trick you into thinking that, oh, you know, the soul is not you. You only have these moments during the Shema. You only have these moments during Yom Kippur or whatever. So it's not you. But no, we have utter clarity. The Beinoni has utter clarity as to what is truth, and therefore he can commit himself to truth, to the soul, to God, that which is permanent, that which is unchanging.
Rabbi.
Yes.
On his deathbed, the Baal Shem Tov said, now I know what I was meant to be. And it passed away. So what did he mean by that? I think the truth is that we change every day. We evolve every day. We grow every day. Once you stop growing and developing, the truth of yesterday could be a lie tomorrow. There's nothing that is absolute in life. And that's why you have to keep developing and keep learning and developing.
Right. I agree. And that's in the realm, though, of the body, or even of the mind, that constantly grows. But if we go deeper in the realm of the soul doesn't change. The soul and its truth don't change. In other words, a mitzvah is a mitzvah. My connection with God is my connection with God. That doesn't change. You're right. The way it's expressed, the circumstances around me, my life itself changes all the time, and it should change, and I should grow all the time, all areas. But that soul should be able to never change, or that soul really never changes. It just expresses itself differently based on the external self that does change. You understand what I'm saying? So in other words, the way I'm relating to mitzvah today, the way I relate to God altogether today is very different than the way I related to mitzvahs and to God when I was 6 years old. Then I wasn't mature enough. I wasn't understanding enough. So it's a different type of reality, but still, essentially the connection with God and with mitzvahs is the same. Mitzvah is a mitzvah. My God is my God. And my soul is my soul. That doesn't change, right? So, yeah. I think that in many ways, I would use, and Gary, please help me out. Is Amy here also? Any musician here? Help me out, and please correct me if the metaphor is wrong. But I would say that in many ways, the soul comes with notes that it needs to play in this world, musical notes. Now, it's many ways, those notes are a mission. And just as it is in music, notes of a specific piece, whether it's a Beethoven or Debussy, it doesn't matter. Those notes don't change. Now, yes, they can be expressed in different ways. They can be played in different ways, whether, a piano, allegro, whatever it is. But they can be emphasized in different ways. But at the end of the day, the notes are the notes. If I change the notes, I've not entered a world of lies. I've been deceitful to Debussy or to Beethoven, whatever I'm playing. So I would say it's the same thing. God gives us notes. And then he puts us in different circumstances, and we grow and we learn from these circumstances. So we have to play those notes in different ways throughout the world, throughout our lives. But the notes are the notes. Sometimes also we have to play do, and tomorrow I have to play re, and the next day I have to play mi, etc. Right? But the notes are the notes. Those don't change. I hope that metaphor helped. Okay.
And I would also add that the interpretation of the notes is always different on some level. And even though you play the same notes as you said, the variation of them in the sense of how you are expressing them is infinite.
Right.
And responsive to where you are in your life and where you are. So it's a good metaphor. Very good.
Right. Oh, very good. That's right. Very good. It's what Rabbi Steinsaltz said about prayer, that the prayer doesn't change, but we change. And therefore, the way we express the prayer every day should change. The kavanah, the concentration that we have in prayer should change. Prayer is the prayer. Same with the soul, I would say. The soul is the soul, the way it expresses itself in the different circumstances we're in. And the way we relate to those circumstances it's different every day. Fine. Yeah.